Hi everyone, it's Samantha Wolfe again. Reminder that I am a second grade teacher at Riverside Elementary School, which is part of the Reading School District. And I chose to do a screencast-o-matic for our putting it all together slides or final project. I chose to use a screencast-o-matic because I had only ever used Screencastify before, and I found that screencast-o-matic was 10 times easier, and I really actually enjoy using it. So I decided that this was the easiest way for me to do my final presentation. My philosophy of online teaching and learning has changed drastically as I have learned new things throughout the years of my teaching and throughout teaching online. One of the major things that I have noticed is that our environments that our students are coming from has changed from me working in a rural setting to working in a city setting and an urban setting, and all of the environments that go along with that. When we're talking about working with students through the computer, their environments at home, just never knowing what a student might be going through at home and how that they reflect on that in our school building, and also how that affects them when they're working at home as well. They don't have that break from being out of that area. I think that building community is a huge piece. It's a piece right now that I'm really struggling with because my students just don't have the understanding of they don't have any social understanding to be able to build that community because they haven't been into any type of social situations in the last year. And another thing that I had noticed when I was reviewing all of our things that we have learned throughout this course was that online teaching standards exist. This was something that was completely new to me, and I'm so glad that I know about them. The biggest part that stuck out to me from the online teaching standard was time management. And this is also something that I'm struggling with this year, even though I am currently still in person at my building, just because I feel like I'm getting pulled in 10,000 different directions, and throwing grad school on top of it just is something that I need to figure out how to set up my time constraints so that I can say, okay, at this time I'm taking time for me, or I'm going to go do this, and taking that step away and not letting my job be my whole life. As far as learning environments go, student learning environments directly affect our students' academic, social, and emotional well-being. The big quote that stuck out to me was from our psychosocial learning environment from Kozlowsko and Carver, and it was on page 56. This is from the reading for this module 7 reading. It says, these factors include connectedness and support through teacher and classmate relationships, student expectations for their learning, student autonomy, relevant learning activities, and academic motivation. All of these things are gigantic when we are talking about our learning environments. Each piece plays a vital role in the learning environment, and our community of learners, like I said, that's a big part for me. Direct SEL lessons is also a big piece for me, teaching students that, different things like gratitude, being proud, things like being respectful. All of those things are things that our students need to know, and they need to learn them at a young age so that they can build upon them as they are using them in social situations and in learning situations as they're going. And not only teaching direct SEL lessons and tying SEL into our everyday curriculum, but then also using teachable moments and using them in our classroom. If we have a social dispute, okay, let's take a step back and think about what we could have done differently, and having, mini meetings with our students. A big part that stuck out for me was from a Graham et al. Poster. It was on page 169 and is the Think poster. So on the left is the one that was from the article, and on the right is the one that I use in my classroom. So the Think poster is to get students to think about their actions and things before they speak or post. So it's funny because I read the article and it was something that I was introducing the following day in my classroom. So not necessarily using it on Pinterest and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but using it more as, let's think things through before we are acting upon them. Also, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So things we're working on in our second grade classroom. There is also this breaks it down and shows the article more so, but we want to think, is it true? Is there evidence to support what I'm saying? Is it helpful? Is it going to help our discussion or help the situation? Is it inspiring? Is it going to inspire others to do great things? Is it necessary? Does it have to be shared? And is it kind? Is it respectful and courteous to other people? And I tell my students, if your answer is to no to any of these questions, then we don't need to know it. It doesn't need to come out of your mouth or out of your fingers because you might be typing online. To be informed. Universal design for learning was completely new for me when we started this course. So glad I learned about it. And pieces of that, were challenges. I like to try and look first of all for simple solutions. So that's something that I would use moving forward. Also modeling, using alternative assessments, all of these things help along with that design for learning. The big part that I thought was super helpful was that UDL tech toolkit that we had shared with us. It is amazing. There are so many things in that. I feel like I could spend hours just looking at this Google website that gives me so many more other pieces for me to look at. So that is definitely something I have bookmarked and will be using in the future as I'm trying to find different ways of students presenting things or different ways for me to present things, having multiple modalities in all of the things that we're doing. And lastly, my aha moments. Definitely integrating SEL into everyday lessons. So not only teaching it explicitly through SEL lessons, but teaching it in my regular everyday curriculum. It seems like it's something so simple, but that never clicked before doing this or taking this course. So that part clicked. Super happy about that. Teaching how to work in groups with smaller tasks. Someone posted, I'm not sure which colleague of mine in this course posted it, but someone posted something about when you're in groups, starting with smaller tasks. So not teaching your group expectations, still teaching your group expectations, but then smaller tasks, not focusing necessarily on curriculum. This is also something that I am working on and we're starting to work on in small groups now. It's been a challenge behaviorally in my classroom. So this is something that I'm really trying to focus on so that we can have small groups that run very smoothly. So they need to know their expectations explicitly, but then also we need to work on, hey, I asked you to bring this with you and what should you be doing? And then also what should the rest of my group be doing while I'm working with a small group? And the online accessibility handbook is also an aha moment because there were pieces of the online accessibility handbook that I already recognized and realized that I needed to work on, but there were certain things that I didn't know. So the parts about color and using contrasting color when you're presenting, and it might be too bright or it might be too dark or it might be too small or it might be overwhelming. All of these things are things that I regularly think about when I am trying to make a presentation. However, the things I didn't think about are the text-to-speech functions that are happening to make our things accessible to other students who might not have the abilities, and making sure that we're using headings and lists and all of those things that make things simple to look at for our students. I find that that is very vital. This is something that I feel it should be for all students, not just for students that have accessibility issues or maybe have vision or hearing issues or whatever else might be going on. So if we're taking a step back and looking at all of those things across the board, then we could be instilling them so that all of our students can be successful, not just the students that are struggling. I hope this all makes sense. It was a pleasure learning with you all. And the last thing I have is a reference page for the 2 articles that I have quotes from. Have a wonderful rest of your school year, guys.